Well, at some point, documentaries got old too. And I was like, I want to do things that aren't nonfiction. I want to do like music videos and short films. And a lot of people are fans, right, of the movies and all the great TV that's coming out right now, and myself included. And I was just like, I want to be a part of that, especially as there's like more shows for like Black women. That would be so fun to like make those stories.
Welcome to Leap Like Me. If you can't shake the feeling that you're not on the right path, if you feel called to change things up but don't know how to begin, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Lisa Hawashi, and my specialty is coaching people at those crossroads moments in life when you feel called to take a new direction. Sometimes that means taking a leap. I want to share practical advice and inspiration for your leaps, and how to keep going after your dreams in a challenging world. This season, we're talking all about career leaps. Come along for the conversation. Sika Stanton describes herself as a photographer turned filmmaker. That's the super simple version of this reinvention story. In our conversation today, we're going to dig into the complexity behind that story. What it took for Sika as an African-American woman who lived far from the LA entertainment world and lacked a precedent for the career path she wanted to get into the incredibly competitive American Film Institute, one of the best film schools in the world, to get her MFA in cinematography. Join me in today's episode to hear about the leaps that took Sika toward this dream, about the creative problem solving and mindset she used to keep taking action, and about the vision that keeps her going. A tiny percentage of professional cinematographers are Black women, and she's determined to join their numbers. Hello, Sika, and thank you for joining us. I'm so excited to have you here.
Hello. Really nice to see you again.
Yeah. So for those who are listening or watching, I just want to say, so Sika was one of my great friends in Portland when I lived there. And she was there like right up until the point that I left Portland to go on my sabbatical, on my own journey. And so as a result, I moved to Spain afterwards, and I kind of missed some parts of Sika's journey, but I have been watching along the way and have just been like really impressed to see it. So a mutual friend said that I had to bring Sika on for this season. And yeah, also we wanted to note that like actually at the moment, so the first year that I was coaching and the first year that Sika went freelance, we bartered and she took my brand photographs and I did some coaching with her around her new freelance business. So you'll hear references to that in our story today. All right, Sika, so to kick us off, will you tell us where you are right now and kind of what you're up to in life?
I am in Los Angeles, California, and I'm in my first year of graduate school at the American Film Institute Conservatory I'm studying cinematography.
And can you give us just a little bit of an idea of like what you're working on right now?
It's about to get really crazy. I'm working on in the first year program we make 4 short films, and so I'm on simultaneously working on number 3 and number 4. so
and is it like a group, like the group's making a film, or are you individually kind of having to make a film?
There's one that's like more my responsibility, the one that's on film, like on celluloid, but the other 3 are group projects. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
It's like a 6-person team. So.
Well, I feel honored that you've made time for this conversation. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So this season is all about career leaps. And so I'm curious, like how, if you were to say someone, I went from this to this, how would you fill in those blanks?
I mean, I've made a lot of jumps. I feel like I'm like reinventing myself like every 3 years or something. So I went from like working in marketing at a lens manufacturer to working in editorial at a magazine company to freelance as a filmmaker to being in the union as a camera department person to now like taking a break to get this graduate degree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, like, when you started out your career, what did you kind of think the trajectory would be for you?
Like after college, or?
Yeah.
I mean, I studied art, so I was like, I guess I need to figure out how to be an artist, but also like I need to make money. So I tried a lot of different things, and um, I knew like probably being an independent, just being an artist and like having a gallery and selling my art wasn't what I was cut out to do. So I just tried a lot of different things. So.
Mm-hmm. And that your art was primarily photography, right? Or
Yeah, I
how
was
would
just
you
no, I
describe
was a
it?
photographer. And
Mm-hmm.
but also actually the other thing I'd always done since I was little, because I had done one of those like informational interviews for like a school report. And I interviewed my uncle who was a freelance graphic designer, and he was like the most successful person in our family. And so I was like, I want to have my own business. Like I think that's like good for me. Like I like being my own boss and making my own life, like making my own decisions. So somehow I was like, I need to figure out this art thing and like having my own business and like put those together.
So those seeds were kind of already planted.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess, from me just kind of observing your own story, it seemed like one of the biggest leaps that you made was like from like regular paid employment, right, for the lens manufacturer. And then to like more of a like freelance job. So can you describe what that was like for you? Like what was kind of going on for work for you that you kind of propelled you to take that leap?
To leap to freelance. I think I was unhappy in a lot of ways. Like I was unhappy with the money I was making. I was unhappy. I felt like stifled creatively. I didn't feel like there was an opportunity to like move up in the companies I was working for. Like I could make lateral moves, but it was really hard to kind of move up the ladder to management. And so and that like looking back, I realized like switching jobs and making more money are kind of go together. Like usually you have to do that to get the other one. So I guess I've done that in my own way, because like the best thing about being freelance is like I could set my own rates, and so I could decide like how much money I wanted to make or not.
Mm-hmm.
So did
And
that
what
answer?
was like going into freelance? What was kind of the like scariest part for you?
Um, the scariest part is like the not knowing what's going to happen, right? It's like when you have an employer, it's like you get a paycheck every 2 weeks. You know what time you have to show up, when you can leave, what your days off are going to be. You have to ask permission for vacation. But freelance is like all of that's up in the air. Like, where's my paycheck going to come from? Are they going to keep coming? Can I do this? So um, that is the scariest part. And I feel like, so like when we did our work trade, and like I felt like like the exercises that we did like really helped me like figure that out and like not be afraid of that anymore, because it was like it was just really helpful to identify like how much money I needed to be happy, and two, how to get there, like what are the steps if I was just like break it down more simply, and so yeah, it was just so helpful to just like take it from this like emotional thing of like, I'm unhappy, I don't know how to change my life, to like, oh, it's very clear, like these are the kind of like marks that I need to hit to like design a life. And I think
Mm-hmm.
and I think even just that idea that you can like design your life was like became really clear from those conversations, like that you can design you can design work that supports you and supports like your humanity too. So
Yeah. Oh man, I love hearing that because That was like my big aha, like the first time I did coaching too, was I was just like,
Mhm.
oh, there's a way that I could like approach this so that I'm actually like getting closer to where I want to go and like,
Yeah.
yeah, making some progress. So that's really awesome.
Yeah.
And well, so I remembered later that like you said, hey, you know, that number goal that I set for myself, I actually made it. I was like so stoked because I didn't know after that, like if you were tracking it and like how that was going. And so it's like, it was really awesome to hear. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it didn't happen right away, but it happened pretty like faster than I thought. Like, yeah, it
Which is
was
not always the case in business. So that's really awesome. Yeah.
totally. Yeah, I think that, yeah, that whole process was like a big confidence builder for me. So, yeah, it was the first time I felt like, oh, I have like control over my trajectory. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
And Sika, like, what was your first kind of offer when you went out? Like, what were you planning on going out to offer people with your freelance business?
Um, I I was offering videography. So, like part of what I was able to do is like it was like kind of this like confluence of tech, what was happening in technology, and also my interests and like just like what people wanted out of like marketing, you know. So it was like there was a lot more stuff happening with video. The tools to make videos had become way more accessible and affordable, and and then there was so many people just like figuring it out and putting what they were learning or how to do things on YouTube. So it's like I got free, I got like free training basically to do what I was offering, which was storytelling and videography.
And
Yeah.
how did that like start to change? I mean, like,
It,
oh, go ahead. I'll
I
let you.
mean, change like how my work changed.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only make so many like explainer video, like you can only do a thing so many times before it gets boring and you want to try something new or like up the ante or get more creative. So I felt like in the beginning that was like a big part of my process, was just like learning how to do something new on every project. But at some point it was more repetitive and less new stuff. And so then I just kept trying to, find ways to keep it interesting, and realizing that like, my foundation in art and like my interest in art could like come back into this if I got to a certain level with my skills.
Hmm.
And that's kind of
It's,
where I am now, is like trying to get back to just, I mean, making like being a commercial artist basically.
mhm.
So
And so, I mean, for me from the outside, it was like all of it, like you were making explainer videos, as you call them, right? Like, which, I mean, how could we like tell people what those are essentially? Like,
just like, so I was working at a lens manufacturer and I was making videos to like sell the product, but also explain to people how to use them, like give them ideas for how they could be creative with the product. So some
mhm.
of it was just like explaining how optics work, and then this is how the functions of the lens work. And, some of it was more like, these are beautiful examples of beautiful images you can make. So I would always try to like build in like something just for fun to like keep it interesting. Yeah.
Mhm. And so then, like, so you started doing that freelance, right? So I was seeing like some of your work of like these, short videos where you're like telling about a company or about their product, right? And then
Oh
all of
yeah.
a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing camera work for like Netflix. Like,
Oh
yeah.
no, I mean, it wasn't the operator. No, no, no. I was like the entry level. I was like charging batteries and running cables for Netflix. So like it was
Still,
not
I was really
it was
impressed.
not glamorous like, at all. It was like the most blue collar job I've ever, it's like long days and very physical and you're out in the elements. But I was making documentaries. I forgot to say that. I was also making short docs at the same time as I was making explainer videos. And so that's more what I did when I went freelance, is I discovered I was like pretty good at the like weaving together a complex story that explained a social issue or a political issue. So I did a lot of work for like, like issues happening in Portland, like gentrification or, the racist history of map naming, like, just these things that were like really important to me, but also were educational. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And um and so how did like from that point, how did you get to like,
Yeah.
going into the MFA program?
Well, at some point, documentaries got old too. And I was like, I want to do like music videos. I want to do like things that aren't nonfiction. I want to do like music videos and short films. Like, and I mean, a lot of people are fans, right, of the movies and all the great TV that's coming out right now, and myself included. And I was just like, I want to be a part of that, especially as there's like more shows for like Black women. It's just like that would be so fun to like make those stories. So um I really didn't want to get another degree because I feel like for the kind of work I'm doing, I didn't know if it would pay for itself. It's just like the financial like hurdle of uh, graduate school had always been a deterrent for me. And
Yeah.
I just was like, I'm smart enough, I should be able to figure this out without more school, like look at all the things I've already taught myself how to do. Like, I just need to get over this. Like, how am I going to get over this hump? But also being on those big sets was like really sobering because you could see who was getting the opportunities and who was in the room, and just like, oh, okay, like this is a much bigger world and there's a lot of stuff I don't know. And most of the people who know how to do the job I want didn't start here. They came from Los Angeles and had worked in much bigger markets and they've been doing it for a long time. So, um, I like learned about the American Film Institute when I was, teaching myself how to make DSLR videos and just like scouring the internet for anything and like reading cinematography magazines. Like a lot of my favorite cinematographers or successful like female camera operators had been students here. And so I had like looked it up and I'm like, let me check out this school. And it's like insanely expensive. I was just like, yeah, there's no way. But they started this like 4-day free workshop for women called the cinematography intensive. And I applied to it and I didn't get in. And then, but they posted the list of all the people who got in, and I looked up all their websites and saw what they were doing because I was like, okay, I'm going to apply next year. Like, what do I need to do in the meantime? And let me figure this out. And a lot of them were in the union, so I knew I was like, okay, I should try that. And a lot of them, even though the application had said you don't need to show a film, like a lot of them had many examples of like um, narrative short films, like not documentaries, not still photography. They were already doing it. And so I was like, okay, they're not going to let me in if I can't show them that I'm already thinking in this way, And so I figured out how to go make a short film. That was one thing. And then I interviewed some alumni from Portland who gave me some good advice on what to focus on in the application. And then I applied. Yeah.
And you got in.
And I got in. I was like, yeah.
What?
Oh no, it's
What
just
were you
like,
like?
I was just like, oh, okay, this is really real now. Like, this is really gonna happen. Like, and it was cool because like I was ready to leave Portland. I'd been there a long time. So this is my next reinvention. New city, new job.
Well, I think you and I are alike in this idea of like, so I also, started out my career as like a writer, like thinking that I was going to, somehow use like this art to, for my career. had gone to like a really expensive private school for undergrad and was just kind of like, okay, based on what I can earn with this and what I just spent for my education, like, I don't want to do grad school because I'm not like that same thing, that like return on investment was really like, felt like an obstacle to me. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm super impressed that like, and I imagine it was like really scary to like bite off that kind of investment.
Yeah, it's super scary. But I mean, again, like back to the skills that I learned when we talked, it was like, okay, what am I scared of? It's like interest on the actual loan. It's like foreseeably I could pay that off, but it's like the interest. So how am I gonna get around that, you know? So that's why I like launched that GoFundMe. I was just like,
Yeah.
it was like
I mean,
anything I could do to like knock this down, like anything I could do to just have less interest, like this will be more possible. Like,
well, okay. So I love this creative problem solving, Sika. And yes, this is like totally my thing, right? Like think about the thing you want and then like, how can you create a problem solve to get to it, right?
yeah.
I mean, so the things I'm loving about your story is that like one, like your progression has been happening because you like keep getting bored. And so you're like, what's next? What's next? What can I do
Yeah,
next?
how can I spice this up? Like, yes, and
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then like, yeah, the creative problem solving. So will you tell us about the GoFundMe
That
experience? Like,
was
what did you like, first of all,
wild.
how'd you get the idea? What did you do? And then what happened?
I mean, that was wild to me because I just have never like asked for help like that. And that was like really uncomfortable. But I got the idea because it was like just this idea, like the idea of mutual aid, I think has been around, but that idea just got really loud with all the things happening in the world, right? Between um, the social unrest and COVID and like all these things, you know, it just was, you know, and like people's like health and, you know, like hospital bills, like just seeing all the ways people were able to show up for each other in that way, like basically, you know, just like crowdsourcing something that you need, you know, like, oh, you don't have to do that just to get like recommendations for like something you're looking for, you know, and like like I see people crowdsource information like that a lot, but this idea that you can crowdsource financial support is
Money.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was, I had just seen it happening for so long. I was like, well, if I'm gonna try this, like this is the time. Like I really need it, you know. So I was just like, I mean, the worst thing that's gonna happen is nobody donates. So I might as well try.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't lose. Yeah. So this
Yeah.
is like after this, let's see, you did it in 2021, is that right?
I did it yeah, I think in like June or July. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, because I'd worked in marketing, I understood like social media and like, you know, how to optimize posts and all this stuff. And so um, you know, but it's like once it once it took off, I was just like, okay, like this is the algorithm. I gotta push the algorithm, you know, like pump the algorithm. And so you know, I just like dropped when I realized it was working, I just was like, I'm like, I can't do anything else until it slows down. And so I was just like
Mm-hmm.
on my phone, like it was my job. Like
So,
reposting, liking, commenting, you know.
okay. So you, will you just tell us like briefly, like what you included in your GoFundMe post?
Yeah, I debated with people about whether how much I should say and what I should say, but I just ended up being like, well, I feel like I need to explain why I'm asking for so much money. So you know, I talked about, you know, this is my dream. I made it, try to make it personal, authentic, and also reasonable and logical. So, you know, I talked about how this is my dream and I'm really going to go for it. I talked about why it's important to me, but also like socially, there's just not that many Black women working as cinematographers, like for one, but also like in the union, it's even, the numbers are even worse. So, but I'm like, I'm already in the union. I want to stay in the union. Like, I just want to move up the ladder, So that seems pretty reasonable.
Well, then just so the numbers, I mean, I looked at them again, like before our interview today, and just,
Yeah.
so you're part of a union, right? Can you tell us what that union is?
It's called the like Local 600 or International Cinematographers Guild Local 600. It's under IATSE, which is like the bigger union for like all the trades in filmmaking.
And so you said out of more than 8,000 members.
Yeah. Which includes like PR people. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, so
there's like, explain.
I had found a statistic somewhere that there's 8,000 members in the union. And then, through social media and like reading press about different films and stuff and like seeing BTS, I've kept a count and like I have a spreadsheet of like all the Black women in camera.
That's awesome.
Well, yeah, because
and what have you found?
I just get so excited every time I see one, and also just like I need to like see them to think that I can do it, to know that I can do it, So I like to see what they're up to. And then there was like, I think now I found a couple more, but it's like basically there's 2 women working as DPs and
director of photography, right?
Yeah, cinematographers, and then there's 5 union camera operators. So and then there's more assistants, but I don't want to be an assistant forever. I want to move up. I mean, I'm happy to do that, but at some point I need to move up. So 7 women out of
8,000. 700 Black women out of 8,000 people.
Yeah, and
these are who you're like keeping as your role models.
Oh yeah, I mean, if I didn't see their pictures, and it's interesting all the stuff that changed during the pandemic, because it's like I never would have had time to like putz around on Instagram that much, but being able to do that, I like all these people it was just like the sea parted, and all these people working in the industry just like came out of the woodwork. So that was really cool to just see that, to just be able to see what was going on in their lives through Instagram mostly. Yeah.
So you started to get like this. Well, we have to go back to the GoFundMe then. So you included that statistic in your GoFundMe description.
Yeah, and also that there's no one who looks like me in the region I'm trying to work, like there's no other Black women in my job description in Oregon where I was working, like at that level, like, doing the shows and the movies that come through town. Like, yeah, there's PAs, but there's nobody in departments,
Mm-hmm.
So that it just was really sobering for me when I realized that. And also I got to like testify to the legislature about that, around some like funding that the film industry is trying to get. And, just seeing the people's reactions to that, like on, both positive and negative, was really interesting. I mean, it just was like, yeah, you're not going to stop me. Like, I'm going to do this. So.
And then what was the reaction to your GoFundMe?
It went crazy because, being on this set, like I've made friends, and those friends have friends, and those friends have friends, and all over the world. So my story was good enough that people cared enough to share it and donate to it. Which,
and so
I raised more than I thought I would, faster than I thought I would. So it was like $1,500 or $1,800 in 2 days or something. It was like I woke up.
It up. It was like 18,500 in 2 days.
Oh, right, 18,000. Sorry, not 1,800. Yeah, like I went to bed and I woke up and was just like, oh shit, like this social media thing, GoFundMe thing really works.
I get what all the buzz is about now.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, because it's hard. It's like, I'm like, oh, like, should someone else be doing this for me? But I was like, whatever, I don't have time. I just need to do it for myself. Like, I was like worried about the optics of it and all this stuff. And I was like, whatever. I just gotta go for it.
Well, it's incredibly brave. And like you
And
said, like if you're not used to, reaching out for support or for help, like,
yeah,
and um yeah, it's so incredibly brave
thanks.
to do that. Yeah.
Thanks.
And it was amazing to see the support come out for you. I loved it.
Yeah, it was really cool. And also I had one friend who like encouraged me because I was gonna maybe like flake on it, and she was like, no, like, what do you need? I'm gonna help you. Like, I'll be the first person to like post, or like I'll send it out to some people, so she helped me with that initial like just like encouragement, but also the first like push, like
Mm-hmm. The
to like
accountability. Make sure you do it.
yeah, exactly. But also like being really direct, like not just my social media, but like, she emailed people directly.
Mm-hmm.
So I what's that saying? It's just like closed mouths don't get fed. Like you have to ask for what you want, or like speak what you need into existence. So
You did
yeah.
it. Yeah. Well, so I'm curious, like, it sounds like you like the vision like that you had with those, like you being able to see those women, like those 7 Black women was like enough of a vision for you to be like, okay, this is the thing I'm aspiring to. And I'm just like curious, like, what have you noticed about the power of having something like that?
Of seeing what I want to be, basically.
Yeah, or
um
just like having this idea of like, here's where I want to go.
the power of it, I think, is like, what you need to do, like. And what's wild is now I've met some of those women since I've gotten here, like, so it just becomes very real. I don't know, it becomes like less of a dream and more just like reality. It's like quite a trip right now.
I know. I imagine your world has like just become populated with like an amazing new set of people.
Yeah, and it's like you never know when it's going to happen, and so you just have to keep like putting yourself out there, like going, just keep trying things and see what sticks. It's like, yeah, it's like, I'm volunteering on my friend's sets, but then there's like outside people volunteering, and like, sometimes you don't connect with them, but sometimes you're like, oh my God, this is my new best friend, like, or you just never know when you're gonna like who you're gonna meet or when you're gonna meet them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the thing I'm learning is just to always be like open and like ready for that, because it happens really fast here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like such like a creative environment.
Yeah, and there's so many people who are all interested in what I'm interested in. It's like, um so yeah, it's just like it's in the water, basically.
Yeah. Well, and so I'm curious, like to just think back to like the Sika who is in like the 9 to 5 salary job, and
Yeah.
like thinking about like where you're at right now, like what do you feel like are some of the ways that you had to change, or that like you kind of got more confident and stronger in like along the way?
I mean, I think just getting more confident and more and stronger, like that. Like if you're gonna go out on your own, like you have to figure that out. It's just like nobody's gonna do it for you. You have, and um, the more confidence I have, the easier it is, right? It's easier to talk to people. It's easier to ask for the money that I need. It's easier to say, hey, I want to work on that project, and or contribute an idea, or what, I mean, so much of this is like relationships and communication skills. It's like, yeah. I don't know
It
if I
seems like
answered
you've
the
been getting,
question.
yeah, it seems like you've been getting more comfortable with taking bigger risks, like as you go along the way.
Well, yeah, right. It's like you take a little one and it works out and you're like, okay, like maybe I
Well,
can
and
do
I
this.
think that's where the confidence comes from, right? It's like every time we like do something that's kind of scary and that like works out, we're like, wait, okay, I can do this. So I can do it
Yeah,
again, right? I can do it a little bit bigger next time, right?
right. Yeah. So sometimes it's a leap and sometimes it's like lighting a firecracker. It's like, is it gonna blow up in my
So
face? I
like,
don't
oh
know.
shit, like
No, it's gonna yeah. So yeah, no, I think starting with small risks and then bigger and bigger and bigger, like the biggest one is, or the biggest ones were right, going freelance, and now I think this, like, because those had the most financial consequences, but I also have the most to gain, it's like I was never happiest when I became freelance and, got to go to, set up my own office in an environment that I liked and work in my pajamas and like take a nap when I felt like it and work until 1 a.m. if I felt like it. It's like, or take a vacation for a month if I felt like it. Like that freedom made me so happy, and
yeah.
hopefully that's what will happen again after this program is over. Is like, I will have more opportunities to do more, like, hopefully, like, intellectually fulfilling things and travel and, and just keep doing what I was doing before, but bigger.
Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly. Pushing the envelope. You'll have even more skills and connections to like push the envelope a little bit further.
Yeah, but way
Well,
bigger.
and tell the stories that like really excite you, right? Are really important to you.
Yeah. And with
Yeah.
people who are excited about, because I mean, the collaboration part is so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, so Sika, to wrap up, I want to ask you the 3 questions that I often end these interviews with. And so the first one is, what do you wish you knew before you took your leap?
um, like, don't wait to have all the information or to be perfect at the job or have, yeah, just like don't wait for things to be just right. Like, sometimes you just have to go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Next one. What was the most unexpected thing that came from your leap?
um the most unexpected thing, I think, get like what's happening right now. I thought that was gonna be the
You're kind
end.
of on another planet right now, right? Is that kind
Yeah,
of how it is right now, Sika?
I'm on a spaceship. Yeah. Like, um, wait, which leap? My freelance leap or my school leap?
Either one. Either one.
The most unexpected thing was for this current leap was my GoFundMe and the people that I've met since I got here. And then
Mhm.
for my first freelance leap, I think was like how happy I was to be freelance. And also like how much money how much um I was able to like make.
Mhm. Like that you really
Like
didn't need that paycheck job.
yeah, compared to what I was doing before. Yeah, that I could do it myself. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
And if you were to give some advice to someone who is thinking about doing something similar, what would you tell them?
One, just go for it. Two, if it's like have a big savings account. Like, it's like you can make better decisions for yourself when you're not scared or stressed out, right? So it's like you don't have to say yes to everything. You have to say yes to like what you really want. And it's easier to
Mhm.
do that if you're not worried about how you're gonna pay the rent
Uh-huh.
for, a little while
Right. Then you
until
have a little
until
cushion. Then you create
until
your
it's
safety net. Yeah.
yeah, until things start to snowball. So yeah, figure out how to create your own safety net.
Awesome. Which you
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Well,
that is
so
the
cool.
best kind of confidence.
For sure. Well, Sika, thank you so much for joining us. If people want to like follow your work or I don't support your GoFundMe, how can they do that?
Ooh, please. The easiest place is Instagram, and that's my handle. My Instagram handle is Sika Afi, Sikaafi, which is my middle name. It's not about school. And then there's a link. Yeah, there's a link to my GoFundMe on there. On my GoFundMe, there's a link to my website and my work. Yeah.
Awesome. We'll include those in the show notes, so they've got all that.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sika. It's been such a pleasure.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to continue to follow your work. It's really, and to hear the stories that you want to tell.
Yeah. Me too. I can't wait to see them.
All right. That's a wrap.
All right.
Thank you, Sika.